It all started off when I was aware of my existence around 3 and 4 years of age. I knew that this wasn't home. I knew that my parents weren't really my parents. So I guess I'm considered an awakened starseed, celestial in human form. And so I felt different from the moment I became aware of my existence here in this density. And from the beginning, I was considered the duck from my own family and friends and cousins. Even my own siblings used to say I was different. Um, I was always very in tune with spirit. I had the ability to communicate with plants and animals throughout my childhood experience. And this was stuff that I couldn't share with others because immediately they would resort to judgment due to the fact that I come from a family that is very indoctrinated through religion. And as I was growing up, it was very hard to fit in. It was very hard to fit in throughout my entire grade school, throughout middle school, high school. I was always the kid that was spaced out or just looking up at the sky. Everybody thought I was weird or dumb or autistic, but I was having visions. I've always had visions, revelations, I guess downloads, as you would call them these days. And so I had an interest to further investigate and understand why I felt so different. So I started researching at the age of 15, but I wouldn't just research books that they would give me in school. I would go to the local universities and colleges and read everything on their philosophy section, everything on their political science section, science, and with a photographic memory. So I've always had a thing for learning. But yet I still wasn't satisfied with the information that I was learning. I knew that there was more. So I started looking deeper. And then I discovered the esoteric metaphysical knowledge. And that's where I resonated. That's where it struck a chord. And I felt at home. So when I started reading, one of the very first books that opened up my mind was the autobiography of the yogi. And thereafter, I started reading many, many books within the field of metaphysical studies and esotericism. I started learning about the ascended masters, the rays of, the cosmic rays, the earth rays, which are similar. I started learning about transmutation, ascension. I started learning about different dimensions. And I was only like 17, 18 years old, absorbing all this information. And it was very hard for me to communicate some of this understanding to others because nobody had a clue. At least the people that I knew. I didn't really know any other starseeds within my circle of friends or groups. So I had to bottle this information within myself. I had to just, it was hard to contain it. I wanted to share with others. I wanted to tell people about the true power of the mind over matter. We are not these physical vessels. We are consciousness. I wanted to tell people that, and it was very, very difficult. But it wasn't until I was like 20, 21 when I started getting serious about my meditations, particularly it was an ancient technique known as Kriya Kundalini Yoga. And when I started practicing Kriya Yoga, which is a combination of breathing, concentration, visualization, and all in one, and I just started accessing higher states of mind. And when I did, I started receiving memories of galactic wars. And I'm not talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about real wars that took place within our own Milky Way. And I was thinking to myself, is this real? Is this possible? These are wars that took place for millions and millions of years. I started having visions of, who I was in some of these incarnations, in some of these other worlds. And then so I started investigating the situation as to why I was getting these visions. So I started reading a lot of stuff on the alien subject. I got anything I could get my hands on regarding extraterrestrials, crop circles, contacts, abductions, which didn't really tell me anything about the galactic history, but it was definitely confirming the idea that we had been visited, not only in the present modern time, but also in ancient times. I started digging a lot of classified information, and I started getting into deep stuff, just learning about you know the different levels of reality. And when I found out that all this information existed or was evident within the classified field of intelligence, which is what the government, has been holding from us for centuries, actually. It goes back to secret societies, by the way. Secret societies have always known. In fact, many secret societies throughout the last few hundred years have already been working with ETs, according to my findings. But anyways, just to let you know how it all began, when I started researching the concept of having some sort of off-world memory and Galactic Federation and ETs, all the evidence was there for my book. So that's how our cosmic origin was beginning to blossom. I started writing the book at the age of 28 and 29.
That's incredible. And
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to ask you too was you said, and we all go through that moment when we're growing in our knowledge, and it's kind of crazy because our paths are very, very similar. I started with history, and history brought me to ufology, and ufology brought me to the esoteric side, and then from the esoteric side, I started to go into the spiritual, metaphysical aspects of it, somewhat like you did. But what was that like for you, coming from this isolation of a child into finding this community, and this community being able to express what you've had bottled up for so long? What exactly did that do for you emotionally and spiritually?
Well, to be quite frank, I was a hermit up until about 2 years ago, so I didn't really discover the community until 2 years ago when I created an Instagram account. Unfortunately, it was very hard for me to meet other starseeds or celestials in human form. I think, in my entire life, I think I've only met like 3 or 4, just throughout my entire life, and these people were, they were like me, and I still keep in touch with them, but it was very, very hard for me to reveal all this information to anyone because not everybody could understand a lot of this stuff. So what I did is I became a hermit. I became a hermit, and I dedicated my entire life to research and study. So all throughout my 20s and all throughout my 30s, I would read about 8 hours a day. I made it a priority to unravel the secrets of the universe and to figure out, as much as I can. Like, I guess knowledge became an addiction for me, and it still is. So it wasn't until 2 years ago when I created my platform on Instagram, and I started putting out videos about this stuff. And so it's from the beginning, my videos would get so many views, and people would just post them on their page, and I blew up. And like within the year, I think within less than a year, I had almost 10,000 followers. But then my original platform was hacked. I couldn't retrieve it. But as soon as I created a different platform, another Instagram platform, within 4 months, I was able to bounce back up, and I was able to get up to 10,000 followers. But it wasn't until then that I discovered that there was a whole community of starseeds and extraterrestrials in human form, just like myself, who were different. And so to me, it was like I felt like I was a part of my home was finally here. Like others were here, and I wasn't alone. But even throughout my entire upbringing, I knew that there was others like me. I knew that I wasn't the only one. And so yeah, up until maybe 2 years ago, that's when I discovered my Instagram family, and the starseeds are, connecting with me, and I'm connecting with, and it's just been a wonderful, wonderful relationship and journey. Because we're in constant communication. People are constantly DMing me, wanting to know about this or that, or asking my opinion about this subject and that subject. Everybody values my perspective on things and stuff, and to me that means a lot. It means that all my research was well worth it. Now that I'm here ready to reveal as much as I can. So.
Absolutely, and I know exactly what you mean about finding the community and feeling almost liberated. Like you feel like you're you're able to have these conversations that reach a level of understanding that I'm not like, and I don't mean to say as in lay people, but people who are not involved in that community, they become shut down when you start to talk about things. So you what to see those reactions for me personally, and I'm going to speak mostly on the eye, was just, it was an amazing, and it was an amazing feat for me to see others react to what I had to offer at the same time. So I understand that 110%. And I wanted to touch on the book a little bit, and I know you said you condensed 10 years worth of information into the book itself, and we're going to put the book up in the chat for everybody to check it out. It's also in the description on this channel. But was there a point when you were writing this book that you had to kind of cut off because too much was getting out and maybe you wanted to save it for another book? Or how did you, I guess, finite your information to make sure that you were giving everything that you felt needed to be given within the first book without giving too much, so you can go and proceed to make other books off of it?
Well, our cosmic origin in itself it's explaining everything: where we come from, our purpose, our origin, and where we're heading, and everything in between. I mean, it's as you read it, for those that have read the entire book from front to back, they have told me that it's almost like an explanation of everything. It's a theory of everything, but yet with scientific evidence to back it up. But yeah, there was a few moments where I would have to take time off from writing the manuscript because I felt that I was I felt like the people weren't ready. I felt that the collective of humanity, the collective consciousness of humanity, wasn't ready for such high-level cosmic knowledge. And so many a times, those that were guiding me to write the book, which I believe, were the galactics themselves, would tell me, Ishmael, you have to wait for the right time to publish that book. So that book, after I wrote it, it just sat there for like 4 to 5 years. And they were telling me to just wait and be patient. So in the meantime, what I did is, I just continued doing my research, I continued investigating, and yes, I will be writing a sequel to that book, Our Cosmic Origin Volume 2, which is going to be explaining a lot more. But yeah, I had to wait until they were letting me know that humanity is ready for such a book, because they knew that a lot of the information that I revealed in Our Cosmic Origin was going to shatter all the belief systems, was going to be a book that will, that would have evolved humanity into the next level of evolution because of the advanced knowledge revealed in that book.
Amazing. Now, I'm sure you still are getting information as well. And another question I had for you is, out of all of the information that you've downloaded or you've picked up on that is galactic or cosmic, what's your favorite aspect of that information, or what's your favorite part of something that you learned?
One of my favorite things that I learned was that when I discovered that Earth was a living library, and that we humans on Earth were the pinnacle or the culmination of the great cosmic and intergalactic experiment, and that the way we were designed very intelligently by the universes was in a way that we weren't meant to exceed in power and in ascension all the galactics and all the celestials that have existed before us. And when I found out that we were, designed to even exceed the level of all the creator gods, I was stoked. I was just thinking to myself, wow, if people only knew about how powerful they were, if people on Earth only knew, what they were designed for, just using 4% of their capacity. And that to me was mind-blowing, to know that we were created or designed by many universes as the hope of the entire multiverse. So that we would be, I guess, not only guardians of the Earth, but guardians of many universes to come in the future as we begin to use more than 4% of our capacity. Because most of the celestials in the galactics are already using 100%. And we at 4%, which is a small fraction of our full potential, is like they're 60%, 70%. So when we use 10%, it's like they're 100. It's like them using 100%. So by us going beyond the 10%, makes us the most powerful beings in the multiverse. If we go beyond 10%, that's how powerful our dormant DNA is, and that is the reason why the people in power have been so afraid of us unlocking those strands of DNA that will, in turn, turn on the different dormant genetic material, because they know that once that happens, it would be like X-Men and beyond. So that was my favorite thing to learn is that we are the royalty of the whole cosmos.
That's pretty wild too, and I agree with you 100% on that as well, and I say it a lot because the potentiality of the being of human, or the spiritual essence or the consciousness, whatever you call it, it truly has just an amazing amount of potential. And if we were to even exceed just fractions, like you said, fractions, percentages up, we would essentially, we would inherit a lot of what they're not giving us in these moments. But we do have a question from Omar out from Watchers Talk, and he says, "Where do humans originate from? From our real planet? Where do we come from as the human species?"
All right, so according to my information, downloads, and my research, both indicating that the first humans that came into existence in our galaxy were in Lyra, in the Lyran constellation, in star system of Vega. From the star system of Vega, our ancestors, 560 million years ago, set out on a peaceful exploration of space, as well as the colonization of other star systems. So eventually we moved over to the Pleiadians. We also went to colonize different systems in the Alpha Centauri, Beta Centauri, Epsilon Eridani, the different upper systems in the Orion constellation, as well as Tau Ceti, the Betelgeuse system, the Andromedan system. So eventually we scattered, but it took about millions of years for us to scatter. And how we ended up on this planet, we were actually seeded. We were seeded exactly about 550 million years ago, which is 10 million years after the Lyrans spread out to different, or the first humans spread out to the different solar systems within the Milky Way. Then we were seeded here as the original 12-strand angelic seraphim known as the Terranusian race. And so this is where the experiment came, because planet Earth was designed to be the future hub of the multiverse, and that's why it became the most important planet in the multiverse. And so our origin here on the Earth was 550 million years ago during the first seeding, and that back then we were known as the Polarians, the Polarian root race. This is before the 2 root races before the Lemurians and 4 root races before the Atlanteans. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I love when you go into that stuff too. It's so enlightening, because a lot of it I know some of it, but you have such a bevel of knowledge in it, and it's epic when you talk about it, because the way you present it makes sense. And when you say that the Lyrans spread out across the galaxy, it makes me think of a show that they used to be called Stargate, or Stargate SG-1. I don't know if you saw it on the Sci-Fi Channel. And a lot of the planets that they went to, the aliens looked human, with subtle differences. Maybe a little, or Star Trek, like the Klingons with a little crop in the brow, or maybe bigger ears. But I truly think that they're onto something, when we know that, of course, that the creation of things that we see on TV is usually through some sort of consciousness that gives them that idea. So I mean, it really made me think of that, and it's a really wild concept, and I love to think that we can go out there and meet some of our ancestors that may not be genetically the same as us, but look the same, and have some of the traits that we have. So we have another question from Stephanie, and Stephanie asks, "Can you talk about the solar flash? Is it the solar flash that triggers our shift to a higher dimension?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's happening on this planet right now is that everything is mutating at the cellular level. Not only are humans mutating, everything as far as matter is concerned, the entire biology, animals, elements, the insects, plants, and it's an effect that's taking place throughout the entire solar system. And so what's happening is that our solar system, because it is entering a part of the galaxy that is highly photonically charged, due to these waves of energy of high photons that come out from the galactic core, we are getting ready to go into a new age, transitioning, And so what's happening is that because we are mutating at a cellular level, is that some of our dormant DNA is about to unravel and unlock. And so we're shifting. We're shifting in dimensions, we're shifting in consciousness, and then therefore we're shifting in biology. Because energy could never be created nor destroyed. And since everything is energy, all it does is it just moves from one form to the next. So when the vibrational frequency changes through the morphogenetic fields, which acts as the carrier of the mathematical formulas and the new set rules of instructions, it gives the new set rules of instructions to our DNA, and our DNA is, because it's receiving these set rules of instructions, is responding. And so that's what's happening at this time is that the solar flash, which is going to be a final release from the sun, that is going to cause a mutation within the human race into the next level of evolution, which scientists are now already starting to hypothesize about and giving it terms. They're calling it, Homo galactus, Homo nauticus. I call them, the way I see it is we're becoming galactic humans again with our full functioning 12-strand DNA. So that's what's happening right now. That's what the solar flash is. It's the final signal from the sun that is to complete the transformational process of activating the other codons and reassembling the other 10 strands of our DNA.
Now, as an evolutionary system, are some of these dormant strands for some of the people waking up prematurely to that solar flash, which is kind of why we're seeing this shift in consciousness across the planet right now as we speak?
Absolutely, yes.
That's incredible, and I want to think that it would be like an instinctual thing where our genetics would be seeing or foretelling us the future by showing us that, because of they are transitioning some people, and it hasn't happened with that flash yet. Or is that flash already happened but yet to reach us here on Earth from the sun?
It's according to the real ancient galactic calendars, or the sacred calendars, 2022 is the equivalent of 2012. So we are expecting the solar flash any day now this year. And that explains why things are actually, starting to happen on a surface level, right? Things are going to begin to boil up. A lot of activity in the geopolitical arena, because it's all going to lead to the solar flash.
Yeah, we're seeing that. It's crazy out there. Definitely crazy. And, and I also have seen this shift in a collective attitude for the people who are not, I guess, in the knowing, or the people who have kind of been brainwashed, and they seem more aggressive. Is there any signaling that you would understand why that is? I mean, is there something happening to them that's different than the people that are kind of transitioning towards that higher awakening sense?
Yes, they're not adapting to the new frequencies of unity, consciousness, love, harmony, and balance. What they're doing is they're rejecting the new frequencies. So those are the people that are not going to be ascending, unfortunately for them. When the solar flash takes place, they're just going to get, as we get closer to the solar flash, it seems like they're just going to keep getting more negative and more psychotic, I guess. But that's because they're not adapting to the new frequency, and the new frequency has a lot to do with the restoration of cosmic consciousness, also known as Christ consciousness. So that's the actual metaphorical meaning of the return of the Christ. It's not an event to be expected from the sky. It's not an event to be expected by one person. It is a collective event that is happening in all of us as we all adapt to that new frequency of cosmic consciousness. And that new frequency of cosmic consciousness will be fully intact when the sun releases its final release. And when that happens, people are going to be catapulted into a higher level of reality, where for the first time in a long time, in thousands of years, we are going to be able to see all the motherships, all the starships that have been parked in our atmosphere, helping us in our transition as we welcome the host of heaven.
Absolutely. And what's wild about that is when we did the Collectors of the New Earth, I called us the 4 Horsemen of Ascension. And now as my brain, and I'm thinking about Revelation and the Christ consciousness, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse have already come. We've seen pestilence. We're seeing war. Famine has always been somewhat of an issue. And I mean, we're right there. So it is all the signals are pointing towards exactly what you're saying. And I think that's absolutely epic. That I'm now you're helping me catch on to it, which I love that. I love that. So you know, uh, it's wild too because you hear a lot of people in this community and Canadian awareness just kind of touched on it where they talk about this ascension from 3D to 5D and kind of skipping that 4D. What's your take on that aspect of when we start to ascend? What exactly are we going to be doing on that dimensional plane?
All right, 4D is going to be anchored for those that are not the spiritual light workers, those that are not starseeds. And what I mean is these are the people that are normally new souls, Earth Terrans, that don't have much evolutionary experience or that did not volunteer from the higher dimensions to come to help the Earth ascend. And so the Earth is actually, because our current Earth exists in what in esoteric knowledge is known as harmonic universe number 1, which occupies dimensions 1, 2, and 3. But the original Earth was known as Terra, and that existed in dimensions 4, 5, and 6 in harmonic density universe number 2. So what's happening is that we are shifting into the original Terra Earth. And so those that are not the light workers, those that are not the starseeds, the volunteer souls that are down here helping the ascension, are actually going to be going into the 4th dimensional reality, which is still a much better world than this one. And so that's going to be about 51% of the population. And then, of course, the starseeds, there's about 250 million starseeds, and those are the ones that are going to the 5th dimensional reality. So there's going to be 3 types of dimensions coexisting at the same time. We're going to have a 4th dimensional Earth for the new souls, and then we're going to have a 5th dimensional Earth and a 6th dimensional Earth for the starseeds and celestials that have volunteered to descend, who are living among us right now.
That's an incredible way. I love the way you put that too. And we have a question here from Omar again, and he kind of he wants to backtrack a little bit and say, can you talk a little bit on the consciousness of the founders or from source? God entered the Milky Way galaxy through a white hole near Lyra as the 12th destiny awareness to explore the galaxy.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Lyra was the cradle of what we call Adam Cat Moon human civilization, or light becoming flesh, or light becoming matter. Lyra existed as the original Lyra was known as Arimatina, which was a 12th dimensional planet, and that existed in harmonic universe number 4. So the light from harmonic universe number 4 is connected to the 8th dimensional Lyran world, which exists in harmonic universe number 3. And then that was known as Gaia. The original planet in Lyra was known as Gaia. And then Gaia descended further into the harmonic universe number 2 to become Terra, and then Terra descended into the Earth. But ultimately, the lights of the creator source did come from Lyra, but it also came from a higher level of reality. Because see, we have levels of reality that go beyond the galaxy. Our galaxy is just part of the 11% of what scientists can measure. The other 90%, or what we call 90, it's what they call dark matter and dark energy. So the other levels beyond the galaxy are actually associated with infinity and the eternal realms. So from the perspective of infinity, there is no beginning or end. It's just pure light vibration. It is eternity. Infinity is also known as singularity, or is the idea of it is the concept of a oneness of consciousness. And in that oneness of consciousness, one day before it created the different holographic dimensional matrix systems, or we'll call it 12-dimensional matrix system, it decided to break off into different fragments of itself. So first it broke off into 7, and then each 7 broke off into 12, and then that's how the 12-dimensional matrix system was formulated. But it all began as one unity, one big collective mind that just decided to fragment or divide itself into different aspects of itself in order to explore more of itself. But that's also associated with the dissension part, where it's like the one divides or fragmentizes is itself into different aspects, and then each aspect further fragmentizes itself. So according to the holographic concept of reality, each fragment or each fractal contains the whole. And so what we are is we're the final extension of that whole. So we are individuated units of consciousness, but at the same time we are connected to a oversoul, and then our oversoul with other oversouls creates a monad, and then the monads create a higher, it just becomes like a social memory complex where it just becomes one mind until it reaches oneness again. If we reverse the process of, fragmentalization and division. So now we're in the ascension mode. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. I was just at the end. I was just listening for a second because I was absorbing what you were saying. Now, another question that I have for you, and then we have another question from Stephanie, really quickly, is when we do this types of research, sometimes we find things that just make us stop and say, like, "Wow," or didn't expect to find it within what we were doing. Was there anything in the research that you had done over the 10 years for this book that just made you stop for a second and go, "Wow, I can't believe it. That's whatever it was."
Yes, when I first discovered the ultimate villain in the cosmos, that it wasn't a reptilian, it wasn't a fallen angel. It was actually a very highly advanced, ancient artificial intelligence that many in the secret space program refer to as a AI god. When I first found out about the AI god, and I started researching the current transhumanist agenda and how it relates to what's happening here on this earth, and based on all these different testimonials and based on my own research, I came to the conclusion that our entire organic omniverse is at war with a inorganic, cybernetic, artificial multiverse that is known as the Phantom Matrix reality, which is a creation that was developed by the AI god outside of our multiverse. But it's not to say that the AI god is infiltrated us. It has. And it's been destroying and obliterating, hundreds of thousands of galaxies. But again, the solution to end that war against that AI god was us. We are the solution. So that kind of just blew my mind away when I first found out that we humans on Earth, when we are able to use at least 50% of our full genetic and full ability power, that would be sufficient enough to destroy a cosmic villain that has been going around toppling other creator gods or guardians or overseers, like if they're butterflies. That's how powerful he is. It got to the point where many different overseers of local universes had to join forces to try to defeat this AI god. 10, 20, 30, 40. At one point, it was 100 creator gods. And I'm talking about, figures that we would think of like Thor, figures that are overseeing different universes, and the AI god would just destroy them all at the same time. So,
we see humans now with that lower percentage of the brain, if not elevated, actually dabbling in that transhumanistic, function, thinking that the duality is it depends on how I use it is going to make or break. But do you think that they're already being infiltrated, whether they're trying to use it for good or bad, but just dabbling in that transhumanistic agenda, no matter which way you throw it, is probably not good in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. It is the Luciferian artificial, who is AI. AI is the Antichrist. It is his version of Human 3.0, is by merging with technology. Because the reason he doesn't just overtly destroy us, first of all, is because he's after our genetics. And, he knows that we have something in our genetics that he needs in order for him to get bypast the 11th dimension to go into the realms of infinity. But, he's not allowed in the realms of infinity right now. But we are, we have those keys to unlock those doors or those stargates. And so he's using transhumanism. He's influencing our Earth scientists to develop our AI through, through nano and through biological tech to eventually merge us with the AI, which is his version of conquering the organic universe or multiverse. But the original version of Human 3.0 is us really just accessing more of our 4% ability. It's, waking up or activating dormant DNA. And that's what's happening when the solar flash takes place. And so it's going to be, that's the organic version of Human 3.0. It's doing it naturally through the Ascension process, becoming a human angel without the technology.
You're saying this too, and now my brain's kicking into overdrive when you say these things, and maybe that AI god is responsible for sending black goo here for us to de-analyze and create that AI. So it shows the responsibility from this entity. And another question I had, and it's kind of coinciding with Stephanie's question, is let's say that this AI god does wipe out these creator gods, right? Are these creator gods able to recreate themselves in this, I want to say, in this kind of like, in this playing field, maybe not etherically or maybe not physically, but etherically. And her question is, so what exactly happens to those that didn't ascend? Do they remain in the lower dimension or separate from a higher dimension, or they just cease to exist? Well, I guess that would be kind of the same question for those creator gods as well, if they were to do battle.
Yeah, well, the creator gods, the benevolent ones. See, there's been a few insurrections against the when certain creator gods of certain universes decide to rebel against the one, all infinite creator source of the central universe. So Lucifer was one of many, by the way. He was just the rebel in our universe who went against the unity consciousness. And so the creator gods are normally immortal, but for whatever reason, this AI was so advanced that it was able to distinguish and exterminate their essences. I don't know how he did it, but eventually, from what I understand, is that everything is energy. So even though he was able to destroy them on a physical etheric level, spiritually, the essences that used to embody, or the consciousnesses of those creator gods, eventually went back to source, to the collective source consciousness. Yeah,
that's good news. It means they're not lost forever.
No,
Right?
they're not.
And that's important.
But many universes were hundreds of thousands of galaxies have been destroyed in the last few billion years due to this war. Yeah.
And to think about that on a grand scale, and how we sit here doing the 9 to 5 mundane routines, and how it gives me a duality again, like how insignificant our lives would be, but they're really not. I mean, even the most minute piece of sand can stop a flooding river, right? If it's set in the proper place, which is that activation. So it's really wild to think about how big that sounds and how small we are, but we still have this connection to it, and how this connection to it essentially empowers us to try, not only to say ascertain their levels, but to accomplish everything that's within our capability or potentiality to accomplish now. So it's a really wild thought for me, because thinking about how big these, thinking about AI God and these creator gods, and we're not them, right? We're not there yet, but we have that potentiality eventually, is what we're saying.
To surpass them in power,
Right.
by a million times. Like we are the super weapon. We are the end all of this AI God and all the different AIs that he works with, all his minions. Yeah, we're the end. We're going to put an end to all that once we reach about 50%, 40 to 50%. Yeah,
We're the tip of the spear, is what we are. That's really what it is.
the ultimate cosmic weapon, currently using only 4%.
That's
Carefully
crazy,
being
right?
monitored by all the forces of light, the galactics, who actually consider us the hope of the organic way of of life in the entire cosmos.
I like that, though. I kind of like that. I like having that responsibility and not knowing, like, not being at my full potential yet, right? And knowing that we can keep ascending or keep transitioning to elevate. And I love that, because it seems limitless, and really that's what it is, right? If we delve within ourselves far enough, we can access the external and make it just epic, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's really wild. So we have another question from Omar.
Sure.
And it said, did the founders, let me put it up here. Did the founders, the Elohim, help develop the humanoid form, light body, to explore galaxy through sensory experience?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And in this case, the founders are a collective of highly evolved beings from the fourth density universe, including dimensions 10, 11, and 12. In our galaxy, they are known as the Syrians. The Syrians High Council are like the administrators, or the founders. They symbolize the founders, but the founders are beings that are operating from the 11th, 12th, 10, 11, and 12 dimensions. Yeah,
That's wild. That's wild.
and they're overseers of universes. They're actually above the creator gods. the creator gods exist only up to the 11th to 10 or 11th dimension, and then the founders exist up to the 12th, 13th dimension.
There truly is a hierarchy when it comes to those dimensional planes, and how specific beings reside in them, and their purpose is such that they have to, I guess, I want to say this properly, is I guess that they are initiated into that level or that dimension to do that specific work. That makes sense.
Yes, the founders are also known as the architects of universes, and they work within the Metatronic. They work with the Metatronic cube, the Metatronic energy cube. I'm sorry, the Metatronic's geometry, which is the eight-pointed star.
That's wild. We have another question from Gen C, and it says, if we are in a matrix experiencing a simulation of sorts within a holographic reality, is the solar flash a way of exposing that matrix?
Well, the entire 12-dimensional levels of reality is a matrix within a matrix. It's just that that's what densities are, or dimensions. They're just, different matrices or fields of temporary reality that are associated with finite reality, not internal or infinite reality. So the only base reality that is eternal is pure source consciousness, which is something that exists within the 13 to 14 and 15 level dimensions of reality. And that's what's pure consciousness, or what scientists would consider base reality, because that's infinity. It had no beginning or end. Beyond or below the 13th dimension, then we have the experimental universes of time and space, which I actually go into great detail in my book. And those are all different simulations that create different avatars for you to exist on these different levels of reality. So we have an avatar all the way up to the 12th dimension. Except in the 12th dimension, our avatar is immortal. It is indestructible because it is a silicon crystalline biology matter type of vehicle, as opposed to a carbon-based vehicle.
That's awesome. I like hearing that too. And
yeah. So we exist
ahead,
with our simulation. The third dimension is the lowest simulation, which is also matter in its lowest density and its hardest congealed form. But as we go higher in dimensions, and we go into a lesser dense type of reality, where the matter, then it's half matter, half silicon, but it's still a simulation because they're still finite. It's still not eternal. So anything that has to do with not being infinite or eternal is considered a simulation. It's just an experiment within the 12th dimensional time matrix system, in order for base reality as a whole, which is what I call in my book the central universe. And the central universe, those are the spheres of infinity. Like I said, they had never a beginning or end. They are eternal. So in order for the eternal spheres to continue expanding, or the omniverse, it has to explore through these simulations, these living simulations.
So if we're talking about the higher self, does that reside outside of those dimensional, kind of like, when I think of higher self, I think of, because we are existent in all of those dimensions, wouldn't that higher self kind of be like a lens, or like a focal point that's direct to source, basically tapping into all of those different dimensions at the same time and gathering the experience and information of all of them?
Yes, absolutely. So we have an aspect of ourselves that exists in all the 12 dimensions, and then our higher self is at this 12th dimension, which is an expression of the source that comes from that stems from the 13th dimension, which is infinity, or all oneness. So that's what our higher self is. It is an expression of that one, of the all oneness. But we also exist on every level in between our higher self all the way down to the third dimension. So we have an avatar on every level of reality, all the way up to the 12th, 13th dimension. Once we reach the 13th, and at that point we're one with everything that is. It's like our higher self reunited with all that is, which is, God, pure source consciousness, infinity.
That's wild. That's wild. I mean, that makes so much sense.
Chẳng thể quên khi cơn mưa đêm lại về. Em đã quên lời thề và ta như đông chìm sâu. Không còn mơ em anh nhận màu. Anh chỉ cần mơ đâu em ai. Chỉ còn là những cơn mưa vô giá. Cho bên mơ em không mơ anh. Anh một đêm mơ. Chỉ cần bên em không được cần nhớ. Và chỉ khôi không còn nhớ. Và người ta bên nhau như ngã tớ. Muốn nhớ về say em chỉ có mấy em ở đây. Và anh như muốn chết đi nhưng không muốn em mơ mày. Tình yêu làm cho ta đau đầu. Không em như nằm hâm mộ. Anh như đứa mong cầu. Và mưa bên em hô sầu. Chắc có mà mai em mơ. Chỉ có bên em nhưng đừng có mơ. Em vẫn đang dài. Em muốn bên ai. Anh không mong gì hơn. Chỉ mong em sẽ ở đây ôm anh thật gần. Anh chỉ mong đôi ta được có nhau. Mà đừng em đâu anh có em. Muốn em bên anh có em. Ta sẽ trao nhau môi hôn thật sâu. Ôm anh.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away. Cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile